Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. To bring in part 9 of What If the Reds and Blues were part of Overwatch. Link down in the description of the fanfiction of this, What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this isn't a scam. Chapter 18, Truth Comes Out. Gibraltar. Word got out that Tucker along with a few more members of Overwatch and Caboose were out of the base. So when word got around, Winston constantly watched the flight radar to see if they were on their way back. After all, his closest friends were expecting to be on that ship. After a while of waiting, a total of 4 days, a signal came back. Tracer's pilot signal, BZZT*, Ace Gibraltar, this Lena Oxton, repeat Lena Oxton, over, click. The radio signal read out from his lab. As quickly as the heavy gorilla could have, he leapt from his tire swing to his terminal in a large flash. Tracer, is that you? He asked, making sure it wasn't some cruel. It's me big guy, good to hear from you. Tracer had said as she neared the base. Same here Tracer, great to hear from you as well. Winston said as he put everything on second gear, you coming in for a landing soon? He asked as he prepared everything on his end. Got that right, Winston. As a matter of fact we'll possibly need the med bay and the detention center prepped. We have quite a few injured prisoners and personnel, but everything is minimal. Tracer said as she pushed a few more buttons, prepping the landing gear. Roger that. I'll have the current medic prepare for the everyone to be patched up. As well as have a few arms get the detention center ready. Winston said as he went into the intercom throughout the base, will Field Medic Frank Dufrance report to the medical center and prepare for a few minor injuries. As well as any spare hands who are free, prepare the detention centers for holding. Winston smiled as he handed out orders. Mere moments later, the ship holding Mercy, Tracer, Bridget, McCree, Tucker, Caboose and Churchhead was now landed and opened. As the see-through wall hit the floor, a few select members had been waiting for them. Soldier 76 stood in an upright position, while Torbjorn walked back and forth as Reinhardt practically couldn't wait for his new apprentices to get off. Genji knelt down as he waited as patiently as he could. Sarge waited at attention for the blues he was supposed to hate. Daku was worried as ever came out with 2 gurneys by his side for anyone who needed medical attention. Simmons and Lopez stood by the nearby toolbox to help make any repairs as soon as they possibly could have. Soon the ship had landed right in front of the group as it hovered to a descending stop. The doors opened up as Church, who leaned on Tucker for support to face Sarge and Soldier 76. 76 and Sarge had their hands to their heads to salute them, as Tucker and Church followed their motion. 76 looked back at the members of Overwatch and the ship and sighed. Well, welcome back son, 76 said. Tucker was about to get up in 76's but Church grabbed his shoulder. Meh, don't sweat it. You have to look out for your people, but next time you throw Tucker in a cell, I will beat your old wrinkly ass to the ground. Church smiled as he said that. Church then walked past the man and Sarge as Tucker joined his walk. Caboose embraced Reinhardt as Bridget squeezed her small father in a warm hug. Doc aided Mercy as Junkrat and Roadhog were loaded onto 2 separate stretchers. With some minor and major injuries, Mercy took the lead and pushed Roadhog ahead while Doc ran behind her, pushing Junkrat straight to the emergency operating room. Simmons dropped his toolbox as he grabbed onto one of the hover loaders and hauled the 2 split parts of Bob and placed him on. Despite just meeting Bob, he began to comfort the burly Omnic butler with words of comfort. Soldier 76 and Sarge caught up to the 2 men on their way to the med bay. Church had suffered a few bullet wounds and cuts, and what appeared to be a major limp due to a stab, a burn and a shrapnel blast. Soldier 76 nodded, possibly smiled back under mask. We're actually glad you're back. We've been meaning to know more about you all, for quite some time now. He said, walking next to a limping Church heading for the med bay to treat his leg wound. Well, shoot away, I'll answer all your questions. Church said. They neared the door. That's the thing, I talked to one of your men and they gave me a name to call. All I need you to do is make sure my notes from them match up with the facts that you'll tell me. As well as vice versa. Soldier 76 answered. Church cocked his head to the side. Well, alright, but who the hell knows our story better than us? He asked as they were in front of the door. The med door opened, revealing a voice Church and Tucker knew well. Thanks for permission to their Medica. Agent Washington had now appeared right in front of him. Agent Washington, with his blonde hair, gray eyes and scarred face, dressed in a suit with a badge reading CIA. No way, Church said as he couldn't believe whose it was out of frustration. Out of instinct, Washington raised his handgun from his right side and attempts to aim it at Church. Church grabs the gun's chamber with his right hand and yanks it out of Wash's grip, knocking it behind him. Church tries to raise his rifle from his right side with his left arm, but the weight of it kept him from doing so in time, despite weighing a very light 20 pounds, for a sniper rifle. Washington tugged the barrel of the sniper rifle away from Church's grip to his own right side and pulled out his SMG, which Church kicked behind Wash. In a move of rushed thinking, Church grabbed Wash's suit by the tie and pulled him out of the doorway into the hall. Church saw Wash's pistol near, grabbed it and made it to his feet just as Wash rushed him with his combat knife drawn. Church grabbed the hand holding the blade and tried to aim the gun at Wash's face, but Washington was quick and caught onto Church's hand holding the gun. They were at a possible stalemate as Church looked Wash dead in the eye. "You know how long I've been meaning to catch up to you, Wash?" he asked, turning his wrist to aim his gun in his direction. Wash glanced to floor, hoping Church would fall for that trick. But unlikely, as Church shook his head. "I ain't that dumb, bud," Church said. Agent Washington smiled as he stomped on Church's leg wound, forcing him to yield his strength. "OWWW. Motherfucker," Church screamed as he backed up. Wash wrapped his bobby onto his gun attached to Church's hand and tried to get it back. Church's iron grip refused to let that happen. Church pushed Wash off of him and aimed the gun at Wash's face. Washington put his hands up as he had no knife in one hand and the ammo clip to the gun in the other. Wash began to negotiate. "Whoa, okay Church, I know you're pissed, but be reasonable," Wash said. Church still had the gun pointed at Washington as he knew something about him. "Even a dumbass like you is smart enough to keep around in the sham, Sanuva." Church trailed off as he collapsed onto the floor with a thud. Washington tossed the clip to the ground and looked at the other three men around. "Not gonna help?" he asked. Hours later in the med bay, Church woke up to the bright overhead lights above his head as he laid on an examination table. The back of his head was aching as he felt the bruising pain from a horrible fall. His back ached as he moved his body forward to sit up and see the back figure of Angela Ziegler. He looked down to see that his torso was wrapped with bandages and he wore light blue sweats. She turned around, seeing the man she patched up sitting up. She rushed to his bandaged side to ease himself back down. "Leonard, please do not rush yourself. Your body has suffered serious injuries from the battle and I was only able to do so much in the meantime while we on the ship," she said in her soothing German voice. Church had no choice but to obey, as he was in no condition to argue. "Whatever you say, Angel," Church said, giving her a random nickname he meant nothing by. While he laid back, Angela was searching through the medicine cabinet to keep herself busy. But a question plagued her mind. "Speaking of which, I must ask, what was that we saw?" Angela asked. Church looked at himself in a mirror beside him. "Ever heard of Jekyll and Hyde?" he asked. Angela paused as she looked straight forward at the wall in front of her. "You suffer from the same condition as Frank Dufrance?" she asked. Church looked back at the ceiling. "I wish he can blame it on someone else," Church answered. Mercy hadn't understood what he meant. "What do you mean by that?" she asked again. Church closed his eyes as the real truth came out. "I've told them all Krieg was to blame for this beast inside, this monster. But in all honesty, there is nothing but me," he said with an empty smile. Angela heard what he said, but couldn't believe it. "I'm sorry, but you're the only one inside. That can't be. Your behavior, your speech, your physical condition, it's almost like a different person," she said. Church concentrated real hard as she stared straight at him. Church grew in size and muscle mass before her very eyes. She saw the man who slaughtered the Junkers from Junker Town. But without the mask was the man who sat at the examination table seconds ago. The beast of a man, who rose up from the table, casting a shadow over her. In fear she grabbed an object near her, her staff, as she pointed it in his direction. The monster lowered his head in front of hers as his face showed his real identity. The beast had a different body structure, but the face was still Church's. She paused as she wondered what this meant. "Don't overthink it," Church said in his beast form. Mercy began breathing heavy as he stood there. "But you told Torbjorn and your friends that someone else was in there," She pointed her weapon at him as she still seemed afraid. Church shrunk down as he walked away from her. Blood doesn't wash out from clothes, nor does it wash from hands. If they knew I was the one behind everything, then I don't know what would happen. So I blamed a boogeyman, a figment of my imagination. Church answered. Why? Why lie to those who care for you, like a family? Mercy asked. Church sighed. It wasn't just for them. Sure, telling them that made them believe I wasn't responsible or capable of such evil deeds, but they weren't the only one I was trying to convince. Truth is, after every time I use that power, every time I transform, there is so much blood on my hands. I tried telling myself I wasn't the one who did this because it would help me sleep at night, but I couldn't. Church said as he walked towards the exit, don't tell them, please. I lost them all once, I can't lose them again. Church said as he left the room, leaving a Mercy on her knees, tears rushing down her face. Through a walk towards the lab, Simmons spotted Church walking by, out of the office as he finished inventing an upgrade for Church. Simmons, wearing a lab coat, rushed past the door to grab Church's attention. Simmons pulled Church's arm as he rushed him inside. Church, wait up, I need to show you something awesome I've been working on, he said. Church had no choice but to agree with the terms and follow Simmons to his area. At first Church wasn't expecting anything big, but boy was he wrong. Simmons rushed to a workbench table that was lightly cluttered with different tools and mechanical parts. Simmons swiped off most of the tools out of the way as he made room for what came next. He brought up a large rectangular case, about 1¼ foot high, 1/2 foot wide and 6 feet in length. It seemed as though it contained something heavy, given Simmons struggled to raise it on the table. Simmons flipped the case open to show Church a brand new weapon that puts old weapons to shame. Simmons brought out what appeared to be a mix of an actual AW cannon fixed with a rifle scope and a secondary barrel to the side of the larger one. Church gave Simmons a confused look, wondering what the hell was it. Simmons began his breakdown on the weapon. They say, size doesn't matter. But I say it does. This is the Harkonnen cannon. Now originally in WW2 you'd see these mounted onto tanks. Due to their power and weight no ordinary person could have held these weapons. But I've modified this to be manageable, now weighing 35 pounds. Simmons said as he let Church see it. Church scratched his head as he listened to the details. Simmons, isn't that still the same weight as a .50 caliber sniper rifle? He asked. Well yes, but this has some impressive new designs, by yours truly. It also has 2 modes of firing, meaning you'll have to load in 2 different clips sometimes. The main firing power uses depleted uranium shells instead of the usual caliber bullet. The other has a shield-piercing electric round that I made myself. So now if the enemy puts a barrier you can easily be able to pick them off behind it. Simmons said as pointed to the different components of the gun. The barrel of the gun was nearly the same height as Tucker and Simmons wasn't lying about the weight, as Church had difficulty holding it with one arm. The inner side, the left side closest to Church, was where the powerful shells went as 4 were entered with a clip at a time. The outer side, his right side, was where the shock rounds as the ammo were stronger version of the pulse munition Soldier 76 uses. Soldier 76 rifle can do a lot of damage against shield and had a faster firing rate, but this cannon was different as the power went through shields and the firing rate wasn't too bad. He could still pop one more shot just after a second or two, enough to finish any job. The first fire mode was meant to be the one mostly used as that does major damage while the second firing mode did slightly less damage. Church began listing some issues but seemed pleased with it. Well, the length may be an issue, but besides that, isn't depleted uranium illegal? And I may be strong but I'm not sure if I'd be able to handle that, he said as he placed the gun back down. It suits you, bro, a rough feminine voice said from the doorway. A voice of a family member long forgotten. Church turned around to see a black suit with a cyan tie, shades and a broken smile, along with a scar along the left cheek. His sister. Hey Carolina. Been a while. Sorry I couldn't write, but I didn't know where to send the letters, Church said. Simmons stood back as he grabbed some of his papers. Well, I have to go handle some business involving other help. He lied as he left them all alone. Now it was just the 2 siblings together, number 1 and the ghost. The slightly younger brother asked the first question, so how've you been? CIA got you pushing too many pencils? He asked, joking. Carolina cracked a large smile. Actually, I've arrested and beaten the worst of scum. Drug lords, cartels, smugglers, poachers, mob bosses, and let's just say a whole lot more dickheads than I care to count. She boasted. Despite the recent events that went down not too long ago, Church smiled at her success. Niece, I'd expect nothing less from you. He said. Thanks, really does get difficult, but I got Wash to back me up. Carolina said as she walked around the room. The mention of Wash's name got him slightly irritated. Yeah, just don't let that back get stabbed. He sneered. Okay, whatever beef you two have isn't important or why I'm here. Carolina said. No shit. I figured it was because this group we're with doesn't trust us as is. But Washington of all people. Yes, Washington, because he does what some of us can't do as leaders. What's that? Switch teams so fast it makes your head spin. Make tough calls. Something's you, me, Sarge, or Tucker can't do. Carolina called out. I wasn't a leader because I made the calls, I was a leader because 1. I would have taken a bullet for any of them and I have. And 2. I carry all their troubles on my back. Church said as he looked her dead in the eye. Carolina walked away from him as she got distance to keep herself from harming him. After cooling off slightly, she faced him once more. Wash was trying to bring you in to clear his name. He took the fall when you all kept the meta from gaining military components that could have made him unstoppable. And while Caboose kept you safe in the coma, he had no choice but to team with the meta. Yeah, I know. I just can't forgive him for what nearly happened to Tex. She was almost stabbed in the skull because of that two-timing son of AB, Church continued. Carolina interrupted him. Wait. Nearly. Almost. What do you mean? She asked. Tex is alive. Wash lied about that too. Church smiled as he picked up the new rifle and made his way out of the room. Wait. Carolina stopped her brother. You can hurt him, just don't kill him. Church nodded as he was given permission to harm Wash. With Wash, he was surrounded by the Reds and Blues who all gave him looks of distrust as he explained their story to the members of Overwatch. The Overwatch members being Soldier 76, Anna, Mercy, Tracer, Winston, Torbjorn, Reinhardt, Zenyatta, Genji and McCree. The original members listened to the details coming from Washington and compared it to the other details from the Reds vs Blues. Soldier 76 was the first to respond. You were simulation troopers? He asked. Simulation troopers who were lied to. Who were told to fight each other because they were told the Reds were Talon soldiers and the Blues were secretly working with Null Sector forces. Each were forced to fight each other, until the common artificial intelligence virus Omega controlled Doc. United, they saved their medic and stopped Wyoming from cashing in on one of their bounties. They then traveled to an island to fight zealots who believed that they needed to worship their flag as an idol of God. Then went home where they faced Wyoming's small hired arms one last time. Next they're split up, leaving their home. The meta came into the picture as he believed Church knew where the answers were. Thus a goose chase and fight between the two teams and Monster occurred. After experiencing the first AI that would lead to the meta believing that they would stop him from getting the last one. Church and Wash set off an EMP. Church later suffered from a coma as the meta lodged his bladed weapon to his side. Caboose kept Church safe, but he then went to search for a way to revive him faster, with Sergeant Griff's help. Tucker, who was in the Mongolian desert at the time, was later visited by them during his struggles with mastering his sword. At the same time they arrived near Tucker's position, he was attacked by treasure hunters after his temple's sword. But after a distraction he saved them and brought them inside, where Caboose revived Church, who suffered from slight amnesia, and had Caboose relay all the information that was lost. The temple where they survived in for a while was then penetrated by the treasure hunters, as they held off for as long as they could have. Church was taken hostage by the man in charge as he nearly drove away, until the man crushed his truck into a temple wall. He later had his throat ripped out by Church as the temple's locals killed his other hunters. But back at the base the meta and Washington had taken out Donut and Lopez while seizing Doc and Simmons hostage. After a rescue where Sarge and Griff kept Wash occupied, Church kept the meta distracted. Caboose traveled with Caboose to a secret facility where Tex had been prisoner for a few years. She went ballistic and beat the crap out of Tucker, Sarge, and Simmons and nut shot Griff over 30 times. It wasn't until Church calmed her down that they explained what happened. The plan then changed as Tex and Church set a trap for Washington and Meta as she shot Church to signal his emergency distress beacon. That was WWHEN. Things took a turn for the worst. Texas's helmet was stabbed through the visor. Church and Agent Washington were then at the mercy of the monster. After that event, Church lost his mind and became the Hyde to his Jekyll. Transformed, he was even, but not stronger. Thankfully he wasn't alone. Wash and the Reds and Blues joined in to help finish off the Meta by tossing him off the cliff with a jeep hooked onto him. With Meta slain, Church went to jail to clear Wash's name as Washington took his place on Blue Team. Then Church was broken out by his team and his sister Agent Carolina, who was thought to have been killed by the Agent Maine long ago for military intelligence. Carolina was overjoyed to see her brother Long at last. They grew up in the same orphanage together, none of which would leave the other. After they were old enough, Church enlisted in the army while his sister went to the Marines. They then went to Chorus, a planet that was discovered in 2050 but as of recently, lost contact with. Church and Carolina had some catching up to do, and left the group for a while. They later returned to discover that the planet was part of a civil war where a third party wanted them to kill off each side to get the resources. After convincing the sides to work together and many battles, they were able to stop the mercenaries Locus and Felix before their plan was accomplished. The person in charge, former chairman of the U.S. Self-Defense Force Malcolm Hargrove, was later arrested after the group just had fought their way through his airship. Unfortunately, Church was left behind as the exploding ship burnt his path down. With little time, Wash got everyone out but left Church for Kia or Mia as he pulled caboose inside the escape chopper. It wasn't until days later that one of the Chorus planet inhabitants found Church's body washed up on shore. Vanessa Kimball, the president ambassador of Chorus, called in Wash about Church's discovery. As the story came to the present, Church himself entered the room, and then some son of a bitch told me that my team died. Can anyone guess who did that? He asked sarcastically. Church, I've been meaning to tell you, but Agent Washington started. What? What is it, buddy? What have you been meaning to tell me? What? Church asked repeatedly. That you stabbed me in the back twice. Or that you took everything from me. You know goddamn well that you've constantly put these men in danger. Wash yelled back. That's not entirely true. I don't. Church tried to retaliate but he knew he was wrong. Then Tucker stepped up. We made our choice the first time. You chose for us. That wasn't cool, Wash. You took away a brother. Tucker said as he walked towards Church's side. Soon followed by Caboose, Sarge, Griff, Simmons, Donut, Doc and Lopez. You guys, what if Church can't protect you like I can? Wash asked. You think we're useless? We can hold our own. Sarge said. What if he can't protect from himself? Wash asked. That's not gonna happen, Wash. Church said. How are you so sure? Wash asked. Before Church could answer any questions, his sister stepped between them. Carolina had one hand on each of their shoulders and pushed them far apart. She leaned into Wash. We got what we came here for and did what needed to be done, she said. Washington grew furious. Are you serious? They're all here committing a serious crime. Overwatch activity is illegal, he said. Carolina looked at him with her friendly, intimidating tone. Wash, they're fine. We're not reporting them, they're being who they are and nobody has gotten seriously hurt, she explained. Well, except for the people at Talon, but they kind of have it coming, Griff added. Exactly. Wash, they're continuing what they started years ago, Carolina said. Yeah, we're becoming heroes. Caboose cheered. Agent Washington sighed as he looked to the ground. This is the dumbest thing you guys have done, of all time. But it's your choice, go back with me or stay with the man who brings danger, Wash asked as he began walking away towards their helicopter. Before he went any further, he stopped at Church. If anything happens to them, I'm putting you down, Washington said as he walked away. Carolina hugged each and every one of her idiots and then stopped at her brother. She hugged him tightly. It always sucks when I have to leave, Carolina said. Just don't say goodbye. See you later, Agent Badass, Church said. Later, Captain Motherfucker, Carolina responded as she left. After getting all the information from the agents and the Reds and Blues, the main council of Overwatch began to discuss amongst each other. The Reds and Blues discussed amongst themselves for a while. For now everything resolved itself, but there's still more trouble on the horizon as more faces come into the light. Chapter 20. Paris Rescue. Also I'm back. B*********s. Okay, so I think that does it for the torso. Bridget announced as she stepped back from Caboose's chest plate she had just installed. Caboose put his arms down and took a deep breath, as he twisted, turned and tilted to get a feel for the armor. Bridget leaned against her workbench for his judgment. It's a little tight near where my tummy meets my chest. No worries. I'll have that fixed in a moment. Bridget then turned to her station to pick up her screwdriver. She turned back to Caboose and began to screw the piece of body armor loose. How's it feel now? Better. Caboose admitted as he walked over to the couch Bridget had in her room. So, what now? Well, I need to fit your shoulders, arms and hands. You can rest up if you want for the moment. Bridget told Caboose as she lowered her mask down over her face. Caboose did as he was told and leaned back against the seat, letting his muscles unwind. With several cracks to his neck and shoulder, he felt at ease as he was no longer restricted to move. Suddenly, Caboose felt something soft graze and rub against his legs. He slowly got up to see what caused this cuddly feeling in his body. As he looked at his feet he saw one of the biggest, snow-white cats he had ever saw in his life. He couldn't resist picking up the heavy cat as gentle as he could have and bringing the feline forward to his face. As the cat licked at Caboose's nose, Caboose wondered what he was doing. Hello little guy. Bridget, who paused her work to look back at what Caboose was doing over there, saw her big cat in Caboose's large hands. Oh, that's Gustav. He normally is shy. I guess he must like you. Really? You think? Caboose asked as Gustav rested on Caboose's torso, forcing Caboose onto his back. Bridget giggled at the sight of how cute the two of them looked together. Need a hand? Nah, it's fine, he's actually rather okay right now. Caboose leaned his head back on the couch, closed his eyes and released a tired sigh. Bridget finished testing and fitting the equipment based off of the measurements she had been given. When she finished, she held it up in the air and spun around to present Caboose with his new arms. Only to find a sleeping giant on top of another sleeping giant, her huge cat laying on top of Caboose. Somewhere else in the base. Church, Sarge and Tucker were in the mess hall eating what Sarge had made, barbecue ribs with corn and a biscuit. Despite them having rough beginnings they had to hand to Sarge, he could cook with the best of them. As the three men ate, laughed and shared their humorous anecdotes with each other they had not one care in the world. Even despite the previous event that occurred only a couple of days ago. Their day was going by pretty normal up until a blue flash blinked into the mess hall. Winded from running from the main area of command, she placed her hands on her knees to catch her breath. As she caught her air, Tracer raised her head. Oi, loves, got good news. Mercy will finally let me get a robotic arm. Sarge hoped. People finally wait until after Thanksgiving to play Christmas movies. Tucker wished. Church wiped his mouth from the delicious food he was enjoying to give his guess. I won the bet. No, she still won't let you remove a healthy limb. No, they never will. And no, it still is open. Tracer answered all them. Your friends Agent Carolina and Washington are not friends. Church exclaimed in a voice that sounded like his inner monster. Tracer shook off her fear. Reet. Well, they just called us up and got their agency's department focused on taking down talent. They put one on their watch list. Which one? Tucker questioned as he took a sip from his drink. Tracer took a moment to remember the name. Oh yeah, Widowmaker. What? Tucker spat out his drink at Church. They put her on the list. Yeah, they said that we'd be informed when they have Widowmaker. Tracer answered. Church looked to Sarge. Can I see your napkin? Tracer, what did they exactly say? Tucker interrogated. Tracer held her chin. They said, we'll contact you when we got her. Why? Their watch list isn't a list where they watch, it's a kill list. They're gonna take her down. Tucker explained. Tracer raised her eyes. Oh dear, that's terrible. We got to do something. Come on guys, let's G. Tucker started. Church raised his hand to keep him calm. Whoa, first, she's an assassin, she kills for a living and you want to save her. Second, I hate Wash and would love to flip him off like that, but we'll be on his team's list later. Third, and this is just to restate my first point, she is a trained assassin, I think she can handle herself. Tracer, who are they sending? They said the only way to kill a spider was with a heavy boot. One moment, I'll text your sister. Tracer said. Church waited but had another question, why do you have my sister's number? She seems cool and she said she was impressed with my skills and wanted to take me out for a drink sometime. Tracer replied as she continued texting Church's sister, oh they said they were sending something called ERD MK2S. ERDs. Those things were supposed deactivated years ago. Sarge warned them. Tracer was confused as she looked at the frightened men in front of her. What are the ERD MK2S? Eradicators. Or more accurately, the second model the US was working on. Sarge informed, they thought it'd be best to fight Omnic against drone. But it was decided that no nation should have that kind of equipment. Wash is sending how many? Tracer looked down at her phone, around 5. She can't hold off that many. Tucker urged as he got up, come on we got to go. Hold up. We're already on 76's shit list after you went to rescue me. I can't go with you. Church excluded himself from the problem. Tucker gave Church a shocked glare, what the fuck dude? I can't help you, but. Church said shifting his eyes to Sarge. Sarge picked up on this immediately, nope, don't rope me into your grave you're diggin'. Nah. He doesn't need you just a pilot. Griff perhaps. Church suggested. Sarge was at a crossroads, letting Griff do something stupid and reckless or let his friend die on his own, damn you. Griff. I got a pilot but I might need some backup. Tucker pleaded. Church snapped his fingers as he thought of an idea, you can get Lopez, Doc and Donut on board. Thanks. Now I just need, Tucker continued. Tracer tossed him a keys to one of Dropship's keys. Thanks. Tucker acknowledged as he waited for Griff to enter. Tracer raised her hands up, just glad I'm not flying to my doom this time. Don't mention this to Soldier though. What is it old man? Griff groaned as he woke up from his afternoon third nap. Tucker tossed the keys to his face as he ran past him to the hangar bay, no time to explain get the ship started while I get the rest of the team. Minutes later, after giving his heartfelt plea for help the three he seeked for agreed to join him. Tucker thought that would be difficult, considering they hadn't been willing to aid a hand recently with other members of Overwatch. He could care less he had his team and that was enough for him. When he got his team to the hangar Griff finished loading their gear into the ship. Tucker ran into the ship as he pulled out his phone to see if Tracer had any more leads on where they were heading. Nothing yet. Tucker then looked at Griff, everything good to go. All good boss. Let's fly. Griff advised as everyone loaded into the ship. As the last teammate, being Doc got on, Tucker received a vibration from his phone. Tracer had finally texted him. Got word, they set up a trap for her in Paris. Thanks. Tucker put his phone away and ran to the cockpit, Paris and step on it. Griff nodded and off they went. Paris, 37 minutes later. Tucker had ordered Griff to park the ship somewhere discreet while the rest of the team had decided to wait outside a French bakery. While Doc and Donut were enjoying the town like tourists, Tucker and Lopez decided to hit a place called Le Cabaret Luna. Lopez enjoyed the Omnic singer's enchanting voice box, but Tucker had his thoughts elsewhere at the moment. Even though Lopez knew that Tucker couldn't understand him, he had to admit that Tucker was still a friend. With Lopez gesturing to his own chest, he spoke to his friend, ¿Qué está mal? What is wrong? Lopez, what am I doing? I'm risking my life and your guys to save an assassin. Granted she is beautiful and we've only kissed once, but still, this is stupid. She's working for Talon, she's a killer, but something about her felt different. Just those few moments made me feel happy. Like when I with Griff's sister. Tucker admitted without knowing what Lopez said. Lopez took a sip of his hard oil as he kept his eyes watching the singer, no sé qué decirte. Cuando su líder no estaba cerca, acepta el desafío. No debes preocupar por nosotros. Haz lo que sientes que es correcto. Al final del día, debemos tener esperanza. I do not what to tell you. When your leader was not around, you rose to the challenge. You should not worry about us. You do what you feel is right. In the end of the day we got to have hope. I can't tell what you said. Could you nod if it was supportive? Tucker asked. Lopez just nodded and placed a hand on his shoulder. Thanks man. I'm gonna get us checked in at the hotel up the street. Muchas gracias. Lopez saluted as he took a big swig from his glass and walked to an empty table close to the stage. While Tucker walked up the street to the Hotel Beau Seal. Up the street, the Manoir rooftop. Reaper had informed Widowmaker that a high-value target was having a party celebrating another year of peace since the Omnic War had ended. She was assigned to make sure that this person of interest was to be silenced. She had absolutely no problem with this, as everyone at Talon knew that she was the best shot there was, making her the first assigned person to the hunt. Waiting on the rooftop, she had her goggles on, surveying the area for the wealthy person who was throwing this party. As she continued scouting, she found her target but noticed two unusual bodyguards near them. A man with several nasty scars on his face and fiery-haired woman on the other side. The two dressed in sunglasses and black suits with a white earpiece hanging out of their ear. One reached into their earbud and nodded for a second. They began to usher the target out. Widowmaker took aim and charged up her rifle to eliminate the target. Before she fired her gun, the agents already aimed up at her. One had a semi-automatic pistol, while the other burst rifle. As if they somehow saw her before she shot her round, they fired upon her. Suddenly the thought occurred, it was a total setup. Before she made a move to run and blend in with the crowd, a gigantic thud crashed onto the roof. By her side was what looked to be an upgraded Eradicator from the Omnic War, only this model was much different. It had two twin blaster cannons and 4 legs, no shields. This was made to kill. Widowmaker paused at her ironic demise, as she knew only another spider could kill a widow. In last-ditch effort, she planted a venom mine onto its face, giving her enough to grapple to the statue out front to get her away. She hadn't planned on there being more than one. One that came from the closed gate side aimed at her in sky and shot the statue she was about to land on. Sent flying through the air, Widowmaker tried to get her grapple working again, but the rope was still reeling in. She cleared the gate and was about to land in the front of the Hotel Beau Seal, on the pavement. As she came close, she had braced for the impact, but nothing had came. Instead of hard concrete, she felt the softness of a humanity touch catching her in midair. She glanced up at her savior to see a cloth and sunglasses covering their face. The masked hero pulled down the veil and raised his glasses to show himself. Tucker had come to her rescue. "You?" Widowmaker had asked, baffled at the sight of him. Tucker merely smiled as he raised an eyebrow. "Me." Their tender moment was ruined as the sound of screams came to them. One of the MK2s were crawling towards them. Tucker placed his disguise back on and stepped in front of Widowmaker. As the robotic crawling death trap made its way to them, Tucker held out his sword and pistol. With a sword strike, he sent the crawler stumbling as he rushed it. When he came up close to it, he ducked under its legs and made it behind the spider bot. As the robot was about to turn, Tucker had already leapt onto its head and stabbed his sword into the top of its head. Now riding the assassin's killer, he called out to Widow, "Run. I got this," he forced out as he wobbled on its head. Widowmaker was about to run, but another dropped in front of her. The one she venom-mined moments ago. She began to back up until she tripped onto the stairs of the front of the hotel entrance. Now crawling backwards, she was once again at the mercy of these bots. When a boom blasted its back, followed by gunfire. 3 men ran around the corner. One in pink had a pistol, one in brown fired bullets from his fingers, and a purple one who was simply urging for her to come their way. All were masked. The pink one had a masquerade mask, the brown one had a motorcycle helmet on, and the purple one had a medical mask on his face with a medical cap on his head. It attempted to turn to its attackers but couldn't do so as the grenade blast from earlier was hindering its swivel. As the bullets flowed, the exposed gun came off and it began to glitch out. After a few more moments of sustained fire, the first one had officially died down. While Widowmaker was getting healed by Doc, Tucker was twisting and turning his sword. The monster was swiveling to remove the sword out of its head. It soon gave up as it collapsed to ground onto its face, shattering to pieces. Tucker yanked his blade from the destroyed robot and joined with the rest of the team. Immediately he began to form a plan. "Alright, so 3 more are gonna be coming, so here's the play. Doc, Donut and Lopez hold the line in the middle of the street between the hotel and the police station. You guys got each other in high damage abilities, mess them up. Widow, can you still fight?" I can still go on." Widowmaker nodded as she picked up her sniper rifle. Tucker pointed to a balcony of the hotel. I need you up on that ledge. Chances are Wash will be sending reinforcements. I need you calling movements and eliminating targets. You're RI in the sky. What about you? Donut questioned. Tucker sheathed his sword on his back. Don't worry, you play defense, I'm on offense. He told them as he went into the building across from the hotel. Everyone got into their positions. Widowmaker on the high ground, Doc, Donut and Lopez in the street-like trench, with Tucker in the shadows. Widowmaker placed her visor on her eyes and saw one of the machines coming from the manoir. Another crawling from the wall where the water met the land, and the last one approaching from the street where the Luna Lounge is. Widowmaker switched her earpiece to their frequency. Incoming, 3 more and they're heading right this way. Get ready, Tucker advised. The one from the water came up first as it took aim at the 3 men in front of it. Widowmaker sniped the right side turret on its head, getting the unwanted attention of the killer robot. The guns turned to her as she jumped down into the lobby where she landed on a piano to escape the thunderous blast. The distraction was welcomed as Lopez got up close and used his blowtorch to toast up one of the legs and part of its left gun. As it turned to Lopez, Donut flanked left down the corner of the street and tossed an impact grenade to its face. The multiple targets allowed for Tucker to slash the back leg twice and pin it with a stab. Immobilized now, Tucker rushed to the hotel to check on Widowmaker. Bursting through the open doors, he picked her up bridal style and rushed her to Doc. As he was leaving the hotel, the third beast exploded with a sticky grenade by Donut. When he brought her to Doc, the one from the lounge and the other from the manoir had finally entered the square. Seeing a losing battle, he backed away to the hotel plaza. Fall back. To the hotel, now. As the heat carried Widowmaker, Doc kept his medigun out and healed the team as they laid down cover fire. When inside, Tucker laid Widowmaker behind the counter to keep her protected. He then rushed to the front and flipped the piano over on its side, while gritting his teeth from the force it took. As Lopez and Donut stepped into the lobby, they helped Tucker block the entrance with the piano. As Lopez and Tucker held the piano in place, Donut and Doc moved the couch in the way for extra protection. Catching their breath, they all realized there was no way out of this. Tucker held his head and kept on thinking of what to do next. Nothing was coming to his mind. He was lost as he held onto Widow's hand. Strange, despite her cold appearance, it felt warm. Tucker, what's the plan? Donut wondered as he loaded up his pistol. Tucker shook his head and stood up. Get her on the ship. I'll keep them distracted long enough to let you all escape. ¿Qué pasa contigo? What about you? Lopez asked as well. Lopez, have a heart, Donut ordered. Lopez snapped to Donut's direction. Deja de pensar que sabes lo que estoy diciendo. Stop thinking you know what I am saying. I'm faster on foot than most of you except for Doc. We're even. They won't catch me. Get her to safety, I'll be fine. Tucker stopped as he was slapped across the face by Doc. Doc had his head down. I've been holding back because I try to be a good person, but you know what, too. Double hockey sticks with that. We can't just let you go out there to die when we got each other and you got us. We can bear through, so who's ready to roll? What did you expect? Donut wondered as he joined Doc's side. Lopez joined as well and simply slammed his hand against his chest to show a sign of unity. Mainly so Donut wouldn't attempt to translate for him. So, I guess this little rescue party was for me? Widowmaker asked as she rose from the floor. Tucker nodded. Yeah, kinda sappy, right? But I must thank you, because if it wasn't for you we wouldn't be speaking together right now. Widowmaker thanked Tucker with caressing hand along his cheek. As everyone was in awe at the adorable couple, a loud blast came at the front entrance. Donut was the first to speak. How do we get out of here? Well, we could surrender and maybe things will. Doc was interrupted by a piece of debris landing on his head. Donut rushed to Doc's side. Doc, you okay? No, I'm just flaming mad. Doc shouted as that hit finally brought out the only thing scary is church. There's gonna be no surrender. We're gonna show these robots we do not yield to metal beings. We will show them they're true masters. And have them taste oblivion. You know, I like him when he's angry. Donut admitted. Tucker smiled as he got another plan. Okay, so here's what's going down. 30 seconds later, one of the ERD MK2s were right outside the door while the other stood in front of the police station. No police force could stop them, even if they were better equipped. It was up to the heroes that were trapped inside the hotel. Heavy footsteps came from the top balcony as Lopez came into view. The one in front of the hotel raised its cannons up to him and took aim. As it fired, Lopez had a stream of energy latch onto him. He glowed with a bright yellow glow as the blast directly hit him in the face and torso. The smoke cleared as his eyes glowed bright electric blue, and he brought out his twin-barrel machine gun that fired armor-piercing explosive rounds. Lopez el pesado es el measure. Lopez the heavy is the best. Lopez stated. He fired his machine gun at the ERD Mk2 in front of him and walked towards it as he dropped to the floor. Doc came out as well as he fired his rocket launcher at the monstrous bot in his wake. His metagun was still latched onto Lopez as the two were completely invisible. Doc and Lopez finished off the big one in front of him as their weapons finished firing. Lopez was out of ammo in his gun while Doc's metagun needed to cool down. The both of them got behind two advertisement booths for cover. As the ERD Mk2 from the police station fired at them, it wasn't prepared for what Tucker had in store. A loud bang came from Widowmaker's sniper rifle as she shot a fully charged round at the robot. Another blast came from Donut's sticky grenade, which was thrown at the same time Widowmaker shot her gun. After being stunned by the impact, it took aim at them as well. As the robot fired, Widow grappled to Lopez's spot near the building across from the hotel and Donut simply jumped to Doc right under him. Facing all his opponents now, he targeted for one more final strike. Thankfully Tucker snuck his way around it while Lopez and Doc distracted it the first time. Widowmaker and Donut gave him the final opportunity for the perfect setup. Right behind the machine, Tucker sheathed his normal sword, and unleashed the real sword, the key. As he gripped the handle with his right hand, he used his left hand to keep his arm steady. The key lit up with so much energy he glowed in Tucker's veins all the way to his eyes and heart. With a single slash the mechanism stopped shooting, moving and functioning. It was split in two, right up the middle where Tucker aimed for it to be. With the machine destroyed, he clutched his right arm and limped back to his friends. Just in time as Griff flew overhead and made his way for a quick landing. "Y'all need a ride?" Griff joked as he dropped the doors down. "Hurry, before anybody else gets her." "Move," Tucker demanded as they all loaded in and flew off before Wash and his team could intervene. Mission completed, they cheered as they all enjoyed a well-deserved victory. Tucker then remembered what would happen next. "You do know that we're taking you to the Overwatch base, right?" "I am aware, I have nothing to fear," Widowmaker admitted. Tucker still couldn't shake this unsettling feeling in his gut. "They might try to interrogate you. Will you let them?" Widowmaker flirted. Tucker held his hand out. "Not as long you got me." Widowmaker took his hand and felt something familiar, something she thought gone, something warm. This is the end of part 9 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to my channel.